What if the whispers of wind and rain held secrets, coded messages about a future we couldn't fully grasp? What if the very air we breathed contained warnings, etched in invisible ink, about a changing world? Tonight we won't be deciphering those cryptic messages or unraveling the mysteries of a changing climate. Instead, we will find our peace in the slow, steady rhythm of the weather itself. We'll explore the gentle dance of raindrops, the silent drift of snow, the almost imperceptible shift of seasons, the very elements that make up our climate. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to Snooze Stories for more calming content. Now dim the lights. Let's drift away on the currents of air, tracing the path of a single snowflake from the cold heart of a winter cloud to its gentle landing on a frosted window pane. Welcome to Snooze Stories, and tonight's journey into the calm heart of weather and climate. Welcome to Snooze Stories, and tonight's journey into the calm heart of weather and climate. Imagine that snowflake, its crystalline structure so intricate, so unique. Feel the coolness on your skin as it melts, returning to the endless cycle of water. Tonight, we begin our journey through time, exploring humanity's long and complex relationship with the weather, a relationship as old as humanity itself. Our ancestors living beneath the vast expanse of the ancient sky felt the power of weather in a way we can scarcely imagine. Their lives, so intimately connected to the natural world, were governed by the rhythms of sun and rain, wind and snow. For them, the weather wasn't just a forecast on a screen, it was a vital force, a divine presence that shaped their very existence. Imagine the first humans, huddled around flickering fires, watching the dance of lightning across the night sky, the rumble of thunder, the flash of blinding light. These weren't just meteorological events, they were messages from the gods, stories etched in fire against the canvas of the night. In these early cultures, weather wasn't understood through science, but through myth and legend. Gods and goddesses controlled the winds, the rains, the seasons. Their moods, their whims, were reflected in the changing skies. Think of the ancient Egyptians, their lives inextricably linked to the annual flooding of the Nile. This predictable inundation, bringing fertile silt to the valley, was the lifeblood of their civilization. They worshipped Hapi, the god of the Nile flood, a benevolent deity who brought life and abundance. The rhythm of their lives, their agricultural practices, their very understanding of the world revolved around the predictable cycle of the river, a cycle dictated by the weather patterns far to the south in the Ethiopian highlands. The regularity of the flood was a source of stability, but its absence or its excess could bring devastation, famine, and societal upheaval. Further east, in the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, another civilization blossomed. Here too, the weather played a central role. The unpredictable nature of these rivers, their tendency to flood unexpectedly, fostered a different relationship with the elements. The Mesopotamians saw the weather as a more capricious force, something to be appeased, placated. Their pantheon of gods included powerful weather deities like Adad, the god of storms, whose thunder and lightning could bring both destruction and life-giving rain. They meticulously observed the sky, searching for signs, for omens in the movements of clouds, the direction of the wind, hoping to glean some understanding of the god's intentions. These early attempts to understand and predict the weather were based not on scientific principles, but on careful observation and interpretation. Farmers learned to recognize the subtle shifts in wind patterns, the changes in animal behavior, the flowering of specific plants, all indicators of the changing seasons. They developed intricate calendars based on the movement of the sun and stars, allowing them to anticipate the arrival of planting and harvesting times. The success of their crops, their very survival, depended on this intimate knowledge of the natural world. Imagine the patience required to observe the slow, gradual changes in the length of days, the subtle shift in the position of constellations. This meticulous observation, passed down through generations, formed the basis of their understanding of the world. It was a slow, deliberate process, a testament to the deep connection between humanity and the natural world. They didn't have sophisticated instruments or complex models, but they had something perhaps even more valuable: a deep, intuitive understanding of the rhythms of nature. The impact of climate and extreme weather events on these early civilizations cannot be overstated. Prolonged droughts, devastating floods, unexpected cold spells. These events could cripple agricultural production, leading to famine, social unrest, and even the collapse of entire empires. The Akkadian Empire, one of the earliest empires in Mesopotamia, is believed to have fallen victim to a severe drought lasting several centuries. The resulting famine and social upheaval weakened the empire, making it vulnerable to invasion and ultimately leading to its demise. These early civilizations offer us a glimpse into a time when the relationship between humans and the weather was more direct, more visceral. Their stories, their myths, their very survival were interwoven with the rhythms of the natural world. They remind us that while our understanding of weather and climate has evolved dramatically over the millennia, the fundamental connection remains. The air we breathe, the rain that falls, the sun that warms our skin, these are the very elements that connect us to our past, to the ancient sky beneath which our ancestors lived and dreamed. And as you drift closer to sleep, let yourself be carried away on the currents of time back to the ancient world where the whispers of the wind carried the voices of the gods. And so we leave behind the world of myth and legend and journey forward into the realm of reason and observation, to the shores of the Aegean Sea, the birthplace of Western philosophy and science. Here, in the bustling city-states of ancient Greece, a new way of understanding the world began to emerge. Imagine the sun-drenched agora, the marketplace of Athens, filled with the murmur of voices, the scent of olives, and fresh bread. Here, philosophers like Thales of Miletus, considered by many to be the first philosopher, began to question the traditional explanations for natural phenomena. He dared to suggest that the world wasn't governed solely by the whims of the gods, but by natural laws, laws that could be understood through observation and reason. He even predicted a solar eclipse, a feat that must have astonished his contemporaries. Picture the hush that fell over the crowd as the sun began to disappear, swallowed by the encroaching darkness. This demonstration of predictive power based not on magic but on observation was a watershed moment in human history. Another influential figure was Anaximander, a student of Thales. He developed a cosmology, a model of the universe that placed the Earth at the center, surrounded by concentric spheres of fire. He believed that weather phenomena were caused by the interaction of these elements. Imagine the crackling of fire, the rush of wind, the cooling touch of rain. These were not acts of divine intervention, but the result of natural processes, the interplay of fire, air, water, and earth. He even speculated about the origin of life, suggesting that it arose from the primordial slime warmed by the sun. Perhaps the most influential figure in ancient Greek meteorology was Aristotle. His treatise, Meteorologica, represents a significant leap forward in our understanding of weather. He systematically categorized and described various meteorological phenomena, including clouds, rain, snow, wind, thunder, and lightning. He attempted to explain their formation and behavior based on natural principles, although his explanations were often intertwined with the prevailing philosophical beliefs of the time. Visualize the meticulous detail with which he described the different types of clouds, their shapes, their textures, their colors, observing their movement across the vast canvas of the sky. The ancient Greeks also developed basic weather instruments. Picture the wind vane, a simple yet ingenious device, a rotating pointer perched atop a building, showing the direction from which the wind was blowing. This allowed sailors and farmers to anticipate changes in weather patterns. They also developed the clepsydra, a water clock, which could be used to measure the duration of rainfall, allowing for a more quantitative assessment of precipitation. Imagine the steady drip of water from one chamber to another, marking the passage of time, a testament to the ingenuity of these early scientists. Across the Mediterranean, in the burgeoning Roman Empire, the practical applications of weather knowledge became increasingly important. The Romans, renowned for their engineering prowess, built elaborate aqueducts to supply their cities with fresh water, systems that relied on a deep understanding of rainfall patterns and water flow. Their vast network of roads, essential for trade and communication, were designed to withstand the rigors of diverse climates, from the scorching heat of North Africa to the freezing winters of Gaul. Imagine the legions marching along these roads, their sandals pounding the dust in the summer sun, their cloaks wrapped tightly against the biting wind and snow in winter. The success of their military campaigns often depended on favorable weather conditions. Seafaring, crucial for trade and expansion, required accurate weather forecasting. Roman sailors learned to read the signs of the sky, the patterns of clouds, the direction of the wind, to navigate the treacherous waters of the Mediterranean. Imagine the creaking of the wooden ships, the sails billowing in the wind, the sailors scanning the horizon for signs of approaching storms. The lives of these mariners and the fate of their precious cargo depended on their ability to interpret the whispers of the wind and the waves. The impact of climate on Roman agriculture was profound. The fertile lands of Italy produced an abundance of crops, from wheat and olives to grapes and figs. However, the Romans were also vulnerable to droughts, floods, and other extreme weather events. They developed sophisticated irrigation systems and agricultural practices to mitigate the impact of these events, ensuring a stable food supply for their vast empire. Imagine the golden fields of wheat swaying in the gentle breeze, the vineyards heavy with ripening grapes, the olive groves shimmering in the afternoon sun, all testaments to the ingenuity and adaptability of Roman agriculture. As the Roman Empire expanded, its reach extended across diverse climatic zones. They encountered new weather patterns, new challenges, and new opportunities. In Egypt, they learned to harness the power of the Nile flood, adapting their agricultural practices to the predictable rhythm of the river. In Britain, they faced the challenges of a cooler, wetter climate, requiring different crops and farming techniques. This exposure to diverse climates broadened their understanding of the natural world, prompting them to further develop their knowledge of meteorology and climate. And so, as the sun sets on the classical world, casting long shadows across the ancient ruins, we see the seeds of scientific inquiry taking root. The Greeks and Romans, through careful observation and reasoned analysis, laid the foundations for our modern understanding of weather and climate. Their legacy, etched in stone and parchment, would continue to inspire future generations of scientists and thinkers, paving the way for the scientific revolution that would transform our world. And as you drift off to sleep, let your mind wander through the ancient marketplaces, the bustling ports, the sun-drenched fields, and imagine the whispers of the wind carrying the echoes of these ancient voices, the voices of those who first dared to question the mysteries of the sky, the whispers of the wind and the waves. As the Roman Empire waned and transitioned into the medieval period, a new chapter in our understanding of climate and its impact on human societies began to unfold. Imagine the shifting sands of time, slowly reshaping the landscapes of power and knowledge. Europe, emerging from the ashes of the Roman Empire, entered a period of significant transformation. The centralized authority of Rome gave way to a patchwork of kingdoms and duchies, each grappling with its own unique challenges. And amidst this political and social upheaval, the climate itself began to shift. From roughly the 10th to the 13th centuries, a period known as the medieval warm period, or the medieval climate optimum, bathed Europe in a relatively mild climate. Imagine longer growing seasons, vineyards flourishing in northern England, and ships sailing further north than previously possible. This warmer climate had a profound impact on agriculture. Picture fields bursting with crops, harvests becoming more abundant, and populations growing. The surplus of food led to increased trade and the growth of towns and cities. Imagine the bustling marketplaces, the clang of blacksmiths' hammers, the lively chatter of merchants and traders, all fueled by the bounty of the land. But the medieval warm period was not uniform across the globe. While Europe basked in relative warmth, other regions experienced different climate patterns, sometimes even periods of drought or extreme rainfall. This era also saw the rise of new centers of learning, particularly within the monastic tradition. Monasteries, often located in remote areas, became repositories of knowledge, preserving ancient texts and conducting their own observations of the natural world. Imagine monks meticulously recording weather patterns in their illuminated manuscripts, noting the dates of the first frost, the timing of the harvest, the arrival of migratory birds. These records, often spanning centuries, provide invaluable insights into the climate of the medieval period. Within the religious framework of the time, weather phenomena were often interpreted as signs from God, manifestations of divine will. Droughts, floods, and storms were seen as punishments for sin, while favorable weather was interpreted as a blessing. Imagine the villagers gathering in the church, praying for rain during a drought, offering thanks for a bountiful harvest. This close connection between religion and weather shaped people's understanding of the natural world and their place within it. As the 14th century dawned, the climate began to change once more. The warmth of the medieval period gradually gave way to a cooler, more volatile period known as the Little Ice Age. Imagine the shortening growing seasons, the harsher winters, the increased frequency of extreme weather events. This shift in climate had a dramatic impact on medieval societies. Crop failures became more common, leading to widespread famine and social unrest. Imagine the empty fields, the skeletal figures of the starving, the growing desperation of the populace. The Black Death, a devastating plague that swept across Europe in the mid-14th century, was exacerbated by the weakened immune systems of a malnourished population. Imagine the fear and panic that gripped communities as the plague spread, the tolling of church bells, the cries of the sick and dying. The Little Ice Age also led to increased social and political instability. Imagine the peasant revolts, the wars between kingdoms, the struggle for resources in a world of dwindling abundance. The changing climate became a catalyst for conflict and upheaval. During the Little Ice Age, the understanding of weather phenomena remained largely intertwined with religious beliefs. Extreme weather events were often interpreted as divine retribution, fueling religious fervor and sometimes leading to persecution of minority groups. Imagine the fiery sermons of preachers, warning of God's wrath, the fear and suspicion directed towards those perceived as different. However, amidst these challenging times, the seeds of a new understanding of the natural world were beginning to sprout. The rediscovery of ancient Greek and Roman texts, including Aristotle's Meteorologica, sparked a renewed interest in the scientific study of weather. Imagine scholars poring over ancient manuscripts, translating and interpreting the wisdom of the past. The development of new technology, such as the mechanical clock and the thermometer, allowed for more precise measurements of time and temperature, paving the way for a more quantitative approach to meteorology. Imagine the ticking of the clock, the steady rise and fall of the mercury in the thermometer, marking the passage of time and the changing temperature of the air. These advancements, though slow and incremental, laid the groundwork for the scientific revolution that would transform our understanding of the natural world in the centuries to come. And as the long, dark nights of the Little Ice Age gave way to the dawn of a new era, the human quest to understand the mysteries of the weather continued, driven by a blend of scientific curiosity and a deep-seated need to adapt and survive in a changing world. And so, as you drift off to sleep, imagine the flickering candlelight illuminating the pages of ancient texts, the whisper of the wind carrying the chilling breath of the Little Ice Age, the quiet murmur of prayers for a better future, the steady drip of the water clock marking the slow, inexorable passage of time. The steady drip of the water clock marking the slow, inexorable passage of time. The chill of the Little Ice Age began to recede, giving way to a renewed sense of possibility. Imagine the first hesitant blooms of spring pushing through the thawing earth, a symbol of rebirth and renewal. The intellectual landscape, too, was undergoing a transformation, a shift from the theological explanations of the medieval period towards a more empirical, observation-based understanding of the natural world. The scientific revolution, a period of rapid scientific advancement spanning roughly from the 16th to the 18th centuries, was dawning. Imagine the hushed halls of newly established universities, the scratching of quills on parchment, the murmur of scholars debating new ideas. This era witnessed a profound change in the way humans approached knowledge, a move away from relying solely on ancient authorities and religious dogma towards a greater emphasis on observation, experimentation, and the development of mathematical models. This shift had a profound impact on the study of weather and climate. One of the key figures in this transformation was Galileo Galilei. Imagine him in his workshop in Padua, meticulously crafting a thermoscope, a precursor to the modern thermometer. This simple device, consisting of a glass bulb with a long neck inverted into a container of water, allowed for the first time a quantitative measurement of temperature changes. Visualize the subtle rise and fall of the water level. In the neck of the thermoscope, a visible manifestation of the invisible changes in the air's warmth. Galileo's work, alongside that of other pioneers like Santorio, who developed the first clinical thermometer, laid the foundation for a more precise understanding of temperature and its relationship to weather. Another crucial invention of this era was the barometer, a device for measuring atmospheric pressure. Evangelista Torricelli, a student of Galileo, developed the first mercury barometer in 1643. Imagine a glass tube, sealed at one end and filled with mercury, inverted into a dish of mercury. The mercury column falls to a certain height, leaving a vacuum at the top of the tube. The height of the mercury column varies with changes in atmospheric pressure. Picture the subtle fluctuations of the mercury level, a silent testament to the invisible forces acting upon the air. The barometer proved invaluable in understanding the dynamics of the atmosphere and in predicting weather changes. The scientific revolution also saw the development of the first scientific theories of atmospheric circulation. Imagine the swirling patterns of wind currents drawn on early maps, the first attempts to visualize the complex movements of air across the globe. Scientists began to explore the relationship between temperature, pressure, and wind, seeking to understand the forces that drive weather patterns. Edmund Halley, famed for his prediction of the return of the comet that now bears his name, also made significant contributions to the study of atmospheric circulation. In 1686, he published a map of the trade winds based on his own observations and the reports of sailors. Picture the wind-filled sails of ships billowing in the trade winds, carrying explorers and traders across vast oceans, their journeys aided by the growing understanding of atmospheric patterns. The development of scientific societies, such as the Royal Society in England and the Académie des Sciences in France, played a crucial role in fostering the exchange of scientific ideas and promoting collaborative research. Imagine the lively discussions at scientific meetings, the presentation of new instruments and theories, the sharing of observations from different parts of the world. These societies provided a platform for scientists to share their work, debate their findings, and collectively advance the understanding of the natural world. The seeds of systematic weather observation were sown during this period. Scientists began to keep detailed records of temperature, pressure, wind speed, and direction, and other meteorological variables. Imagine meticulously kept weather diaries, filled with rows of carefully recorded data, the foundation for the development of long-term climate records. These early observations, though limited in scope and often lacking in standardization, represented the first steps towards a more systematic approach to understanding weather and climate. The scientific revolution marked a turning point in the human relationship with the weather. The development of new instruments, the formulation of scientific theories, and the establishment of scientific societies laid the foundation for modern meteorology. Imagine the gradual shift from a world where weather was primarily understood through the lens of religion and folklore to a world where scientific inquiry began to unlock the secrets of the atmosphere. As we move into the next era, we will see how these early discoveries paved the way for the development of more sophisticated weather forecasting techniques and a deeper understanding of the complex interactions between the atmosphere, the oceans, and the land. And so, as you drift off to sleep, imagine the quiet hum of scientific inquiry, the gentle click of the barometer, the steady recording of data in weather diaries, the gradual unfolding of a new understanding of the natural world. And as the hum of scientific inquiry resonated through the burgeoning age of reason, a new force began to stir, one that would irrevocably alter the relationship between humanity and the atmosphere, the rumble of machinery, the hiss of steam, the clang of metal on metal. These were the sounds of the Industrial Revolution, a period of unprecedented technological advancement that would transform human society but also leave an indelible mark on the planet's delicate climate systems. Imagine the smoky haze that hung over industrial cities, a palpable testament to the burning of vast quantities of coal. Visualize the towering chimneys of factories, belching forth plumes of dark smoke that stained the sky and filled the air with a pungent, acrid smell. Coal, once a fuel source used sparingly, became the lifeblood of the new industrial age, powering steam engines, factories, and locomotives. Feel the heat radiating from the furnaces, the relentless consumption of fossil fuels driving the engines of progress. With each shovelful of coal fed into the fiery maw of the furnaces, invisible gases were released into the atmosphere: carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, gases that would slowly, imperceptibly, begin to trap heat and alter the Earth's delicate thermal balance. Picture these gases, invisible yet potent, accumulating in the atmosphere like an invisible blanket, slowly warming the planet. The early stages of the Industrial Revolution were marked by a dramatic increase in air pollution. Imagine the streets of London shrouded in a thick fog, a mixture of smoke and soot that choked the city and darkened the skies. The air was heavy, difficult to breathe, carrying the taste of coal dust and the smell of sulfur. Visualize the soot settling on buildings, blackening the facades and obscuring the architectural details. This visible pollution was a stark reminder of the invisible changes taking place in the atmosphere. While the immediate effects of air pollution were readily apparent, the long-term consequences of increasing greenhouse gas concentrations were not yet fully understood. However, amidst the clamor of the Industrial Revolution, a few prescient voices began to raise concerns about the potential impact of human activities on the climate. One such voice was that of Svante Arrhenius, a Swedish scientist who, in 1896, published a groundbreaking paper exploring the relationship between atmospheric carbon dioxide and global temperature. Imagine Arrhenius, hunched over his calculations, meticulously analyzing the complex interactions between the Earth's atmosphere and the Sun's energy. He theorized that a doubling of atmospheric carbon dioxide could lead to a significant increase in global temperatures. His work, though initially met with skepticism, laid the groundwork for our modern understanding of the greenhouse effect and its potential to alter the Earth's climate. As the 19th century drew to a close, the Industrial Revolution continued its relentless march, transforming societies and reshaping the planet. The clang of machinery, the hiss of steam, the rumble of trains, these sounds became the soundtrack of a new era, an era of unprecedented technological advancement, but also one of increasing environmental change. Imagine the rhythmic chugging of a steam engine, the wheels turning, the pistons pumping, each movement fueled by the burning of coal, each puff of smoke adding to the growing concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. The smokestacks continued to belch forth their dark plumes, the factories continued to churn out their products, and the world continued to warm, slowly, almost imperceptibly, setting the stage for the dramatic climate changes that would unfold in the following century. Visualize the Earth, a delicate blue sphere suspended in the vastness of space, its atmosphere slowly changing, its climate subtly shifting, the seeds of future change sown by the industrial activities of humankind. As the 19th century gave way to the 20th, the implications of Arrhenius's calculations remained largely unexplored, overshadowed by the rapid pace of industrialization and the promise of technological progress. The world, caught up in the whirlwind of innovation, was largely unaware of the profound and lasting impact its activities were having on the planet's climate. And so, as you drift off to sleep, imagine the hum of industry, the rhythmic pulse of progress, the subtle, almost imperceptible warming of the Earth, a silent prelude to the challenges that lie ahead. The hum of industry continued, a constant, low thrumming that permeated the early 20th century. Imagine the clatter of typewriters, the ringing of telephones, the rumble of automobiles replacing horse-drawn carriages. Progress marched forward, fueled by the ever-increasing consumption of fossil fuels. Visualize the sprawling oil fields, the derricks pumping black gold from the depths of the earth, the refineries transforming crude oil into gasoline, diesel, and countless other petroleum products. Feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, yet also the subtle, insidious warming caused by the accumulation of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. As the world hurtled towards modernity, the scientific understanding of our planet's complex climate system began to deepen. Picture Charles David Keeling, perched atop the Mauna Loa Observatory in Hawaii, meticulously measuring atmospheric carbon dioxide levels. Imagine the thin air, the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean stretching out below, the steady rise of CO2 recorded on his instruments, a stark visual representation of humanity's impact on the atmosphere. This Keeling curve, as it became known, provided irrefutable evidence of the increasing concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, a trend that continues to this day. Visualize the line on the graph, steadily climbing year after year, a silent testament to the relentless burning of fossil fuels. The mid-20th century witnessed the development of increasingly sophisticated climate models. Imagine rooms filled with massive computers, their blinking lights and whirring fans a testament to the complex calculations being performed. Scientists painstakingly input data, temperature readings, atmospheric pressure, ocean currents, solar radiation, building virtual representations of the Earth's climate system. Visualize the lines of code, the complex algorithms, the intricate simulations designed to unravel the mysteries of our planet's climate. These models, though rudimentary by today's standards, began to paint a clearer picture of the potential consequences of continued greenhouse gas emissions. Feel the hum of the computers, the cool air of the data center, the weight of the predictions being generated. As evidence for human-induced climate change mounted, so too did public awareness of the issue. Rachel Carson's seminal work Silent Spring, published in 1962, exposed the harmful effects of pesticides on the environment, sparking a growing environmental movement. Imagine turning the pages of the book, absorbing the stark warnings, the unsettling descriptions of ecological damage. Visualize the silent spring, devoid of birdsong, a chilling reminder of the fragility of the natural world. This growing awareness of environmental issues laid the groundwork for a broader understanding of the interconnectedness of human actions and planetary health. Feel the texture of the book's cover, the weight of its message, the growing sense of urgency surrounding environmental issues. The latter half of the 20th century saw the first tentative steps towards international cooperation on climate change. The 1972 United Nations Conference on the Human Environment in Stockholm marked a turning point, bringing together nations to discuss global environmental challenges. Imagine the delegates gathered around the table, representing diverse cultures and perspectives, united by a shared concern for the planet's future. Visualize the flags of different nations, the hushed tones of diplomacy, the shared sense of responsibility for protecting the Earth. The conference laid the groundwork for future international agreements and collaborations, setting the stage for a global response to climate change. Hear the murmur of voices, the rustle of papers, the click of cameras capturing this historic moment. In 1988, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, was established, tasked with assessing the scientific, technical, and socioeconomic information relevant to understanding the risks of human-induced climate change. Imagine scientists from around the world poring over data, sharing research, collaborating to produce comprehensive assessments of the state of climate science. Visualize the stacks of reports, the graphs and charts, the meticulous analysis that informs the IPCC's findings. The IPCC's reports have become the cornerstone of international climate policy, providing a scientific foundation for decision-making. Feel the weight of the evidence, the urgency of the situation, the growing consensus among scientists about the reality and severity of climate change. The 1992 Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro marked another significant milestone, resulting in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. Imagine the bustling conference halls, the vibrant energy of the summit, the sense of hope and determination that permeated the proceedings. Visualize the signing of the convention, the symbolic handshake between world leaders, the commitment to address climate change on a global scale. The UNFCCC established a framework for international cooperation on climate change, paving the way for future treaties and protocols. Hear the applause, the cheers, the sense of collective purpose that filled the air. As the 20th century drew to a close, the scientific understanding of climate change had become increasingly refined, the evidence for human influence increasingly compelling, and the need for international action increasingly urgent. Imagine the Earth, a delicate blue sphere suspended in the vastness of space, its atmosphere bearing the imprint of human activity, its climate subtly shifting, its future uncertain. Feel the weight of responsibility, the urgency of the challenge, the hope that humanity can rise to meet this defining moment in history. As you drift off to sleep, imagine the Earth spinning on its axis, the seasons changing, the wind whispering through the trees, a gentle reminder of the interconnectedness of all living things and the delicate balance that sustains life on our planet. The Earth spinning on its axis, the seasons changing, the wind whispering through the trees. Feel the gentle breeze against your skin, the warmth of the sun on your face, the subtle shift in the air as day transitions into night. The 21st century dawned with a growing recognition that climate change was no longer a distant threat, but a present reality. Imagine glaciers calving into the sea, ice sheets thinning, sea levels rising, a slow, inexorable transformation of the Earth's cryosphere. Visualize the melting ice, the rising waters, the encroaching sea, a tangible manifestation of a changing climate. Hear the crackle of the ice, the splash of the waves, the whisper of the wind carrying tales of a warming world. The early 2000s witnessed a proliferation of scientific studies, each adding another piece to the puzzle, each confirming the reality and severity of human-induced climate change. Imagine scientists meticulously collecting data, analyzing samples, running simulations, their work a testament to the power of human ingenuity in the pursuit of knowledge. Visualize the laboratory equipment, the intricate instruments, the complex data sets, the relentless search for understanding. Feel the cool touch of the lab bench, the hum of the instruments, the weight of the data in your hands. The release of An Inconvenient Truth in 2006 brought the issue of climate change into the mainstream, raising public awareness and sparking a renewed sense of urgency. Imagine watching the documentary, the stark images, the compelling arguments, the urgent call to action. Visualize the graphs and charts, the melting glaciers, the extreme weather events, the undeniable evidence of a changing climate. But hear the narrator's voice, the somber music, the growing sense of concern. Feel the weight of responsibility, the urgency of the situation, the need to act. The Kyoto Protocol, adopted in 1997, entered into force in 2005, marking the first international agreement to commit industrialized nations to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Imagine delegates from around the world gathered in Kyoto, Japan, their faces etched with determination, their voices filled with hope. Visualize the signing of the protocol, the exchange of handshakes, the symbolic commitment to address climate change on a global scale. Hear the murmur of voices, the click of cameras, the sense of shared purpose. Feel the weight of the document, the significance of the agreement, the hope that it represents. Despite the Kyoto Protocol and other international efforts, greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise, driven by economic growth, population growth, and increasing energy demand. Imagine smokestacks belching plumes of smoke into the atmosphere, cars clogging highways, factories humming with activity, the relentless pursuit of economic progress leaving its mark on the planet. Visualize the bustling cities, the sprawling suburbs, the industrial complexes, the complex web of human activity that shapes the Earth's climate. Hear the rumble of traffic, the hum of machinery, the constant drone of human activity. Feel the heat radiating from the pavement, the vibrations of the machines, the pulse of human activity. The Copenhagen Climate Change Conference in 2009, though ultimately failing to achieve a legally binding agreement, underscored the growing recognition of the need for a global response to climate change. Imagine the crowded conference halls, the intense negotiations, the passionate pleas, the mixture of hope and frustration that permeated the proceedings. Visualize the world leaders gathered around the table, the diplomats huddled in private meetings, the activists protesting outside the venue. Hear the clamor of voices, the clash of opinions, the urgent calls for action. Feel the tension in the air, the weight of expectations, the uncertainty of the outcome. The Paris Agreement, adopted in 2015, marked a turning point in international climate diplomacy, bringing together nearly every nation on Earth in a common cause to combat climate change. Imagine representatives from nearly 200 countries gathered in Paris, their faces reflecting a shared sense of purpose, their voices united in a call for action. Visualize the signing of the agreement, the applause, the cheers, the sense of hope and optimism that filled the air. Hear the murmur of voices, the click of cameras, the sense of collective achievement. Feel the weight of the document, the significance of the agreement, the hope that it represents. The Paris Agreement aims to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and to pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Imagine a world powered by renewable energy, with clean air and water, where ecosystems thrive and communities are resilient to the impacts of climate change. Visualize wind turbines spinning gracefully against the horizon, solar panels gleaming in the sunlight, electric cars gliding silently through the streets. Hear the whisper of the wind, the gentle lapping of the waves, the sounds of a healthy planet. Feel the warmth of the sun, the coolness of the breeze, the sense of peace and tranquility. Achieving the goals of the Paris Agreement requires a fundamental transformation of the global energy system, a shift away from fossil fuels towards renewable energy sources. Imagine engineers designing innovative energy technologies, entrepreneurs building sustainable businesses, communities embracing clean energy solutions. Visualize research labs, factories, construction sites, the bustling activity of a green energy revolution. Hear the hum of machinery, the clang of tools, the sounds of innovation and progress. Feel the excitement of discovery, the satisfaction of creation, the hope for a sustainable future. The future of weather is inextricably linked to the future of climate change. As the Earth's climate continues to change, we can expect more frequent and intense extreme weather events, including heat waves, droughts, floods, wildfires, and storms. Imagine communities working together to adapt to a changing climate, building resilient infrastructure, developing early warning systems, protecting vulnerable populations. Visualize green roofs, permeable pavements, flood barriers, the innovative solutions that will help us adapt to a changing world. Hear the sounds of construction, the murmur of voices, the sense of community and resilience. Feel the strength of collaboration, the power of innovation, the hope that we can build a more sustainable and resilient future. As you drift off to sleep, imagine a future where humanity has risen to the challenge of climate change, a future where we have harnessed the power of technology and innovation to create a sustainable and resilient world. Feel the gentle breeze on your face, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the peace and tranquility of a healthy planet. Breathe deeply, relax, and allow yourself to drift off to sleep.